We are live.
Hello, people.
Everybody. This is Tuli working. Everybody.
It is me working.
This
Guys,
is Tuli
I'm
working.
very excited. I'm trying to read did you see my face is all lit up now? Let me show you what it's like without the light. That's no light. This is light. See?
Wow.
I got a little desk lamp. Yes, we are here. I am reading the coming of age credos, people. I'm so excited.
What
I'm
is
very
coming of
excited.
age, Julie?
Oh, I'm sorry. Coming of Age is a program that we offer our ninth graders. It's a year-long journey of essentially, I'd call it values clarification. That's like, if you really ask me to say it in 3 words or less, I'd say values clarification is what it's about. What's important to you? Who are you? What are you doing? Where are you headed? You know, they're 14, 15. So let's see where that takes them. Yeah, and I'm really excited. And they moan and groan so much about it, and then they turn out these incredible statements. So
Sorry.
I was editing that statement. What did you say? Are people here?
They can. Sorry. I'm sharing it on Facebook right now to
I'm not sharing it, man. I hate
on.
Facebook these days.
You gotta
So
share
not
it.
a Facebook fan. Ugh. I'm not allowed to say that on Facebook Live, am I?
Probably not.
Oh, well, I just said it.
So today's an exciting day, at least in my household, for 2
You got the
reasons.
second shot. You got the second shot.
Lisa Beth said that Lisa Beth, I won't share that with everybody up on the screen, but someone's at work. I'm not sure they can get away with listening. How many of you are covert listeners today on Facebook? Hope it's worth your while. Lisa Beth, it's great to see you. Tuli, do you have any good questions?
What's the second reason? The first reason is that celebrating.
So I got my second shot.
Wood. How do you feel 4 hours in?
My arm hurts.
Sure.
But so I'm moving it and I'm drinking lots of water in my cup. But this is the refill because that's everybody tells me.
The second thing you're excited about.
The second thing is my husband got a job.
Yeehaw! Congratulations, people. Congratulations, Vargas household.
I know.
Hey, I have to tell
Almost
you
2 years. Almost 2 years.
Good on him for hanging in there.
I know. And I just I have to say that for so many of us who have spouses or ourselves are out of work, you know, it's like there have been these different points where we've celebrated with one another when somebody's finally gotten a job or, you know, some breakthrough has happened because it's just felt like, ooh, it's been tough. It's been tough. And I know, like, Tuli, it's tough for you right now, right? With everything going on in India.
It's tough, people. It's tough. It's really, really tough. Both my parents have tested positive.
After being vaccinated, yes?
Both had their vaccination shots. In fact, of the 4 people in the house who've tested positive, 3 had both shots.
Oh my gosh. And is this because they have the variant, the Indian variant, or you don't know? Who knows?
We don't know. What is fascinating, okay, so there's a couple of things I want to talk about. But first I want to talk about Essex County where I live, and then I want to talk about India. So Essex County is, it was so interesting when our young adult went to get his shot. He came home with a little nice plastic, because you're not supposed to laminate because the ink rubs off, but he came home with a little plastic envelope. And Vikram and I were both like, how'd you get that? We didn't get that. Like, wow. So when he went for his second, he remembered to get spares for us, which was very nice. But just as he did, something came in the mail, and it's like, you know, I don't know if you open mail anymore, but it's the most annoying thing ever because most of it is just like toss, right? So like so much gets just tossed in the recycling. And I almost didn't open this because it looked like another thing to toss. And I opened it, and it was a letter from Joseph Vinciano, or whatever he is, head of Essex County, that said, we started handing these out after you got your second shot. So you didn't get one. So we're mailing you one.
Wow.
So now I have a spare one if anybody wants one. It does say Essex County, blah, blah, blah on it. But I thought that was really interesting that they did that. So now that was impressive. Now here's the impressive thing about India. Like I know
I wanted you to tell this story.
I am beside myself worried. But here's what happens in India. So my family has tested positive. They are in an old Art Deco style bungalow. The municipal corporation shows up to sanitize it. I'm like,
Like
what?
within hours of them testing
Within
positive, like
hours
as soon
of
as
them
they got
getting
tested
soon as they
positive,
got the
people show
positive
up.
result, they're showing up, and I'm like, what? What does that mean? Then the other interesting thing is, so obviously not everybody has a house that they can quarantine in because you don't have enough rooms and bathrooms and blah 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 blah. So they have these large fields where they've put up essentially what they call a quarantine center. So if you say, I don't have the ability, I don't have a bathroom, and you're not allowed to share bathrooms, I have to go to the community bathroom. You go to one of these centers where they've taken shipping containers and made them essentially into little ICU units. And it's all free. It's crazy. So my seventh grade friend and her husband are our family physicians. And so I was telling her, I was just like, so it's all very well for my parents, but what do people who don't have the means? She's just like, they just go to one of the centers. The centers are right, and it's all covered. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, a government that can do that level of
Care.
like I'm pleased that Essex
Mhm.
County sends me an envelope, right? But there is no way if I tested positive that they would come and sterilize my house, or I would have a place to go to commonly known where I would be taken care of. That just wouldn't happen, right? Like not happening. So it was just curious that there's a government that can swing into action like this after you've been infected, but it's completely useless in getting people.
Well, and like what's
Right?
interesting too, Tuli, is like, I've been following India like pretty regularly, because I have so many friends like you whose families are impacted, right?
We have not hit the peak in India. It's coming in 2 or 3 weeks' time.
Oh, but the news, like,
Not
so
hit.
here's the thing though. The news that I hear that I've been listening to and reading is, is talking about like the heart-wrenching stuff of like people, a man threw a mattress in the back of his car and like drove his dad around from hospital to hospital, and none of the hospitals could take them, and like that's the story I heard. But I really, except from you, I didn't hear a story about how after you test positive, the way the government has come in and helped people who've tested. Like that story is not there.
Nope. It's phenomenal. It's like truly phenomenal. And so now in our household, so the house is set up like a train with all the bedrooms on one side and the attached bathrooms, and then the master bedroom is off to a side. So, and there are main doors that can close off those bedrooms. So they've closed those doors. They're all isolated. They're all there together.
Yeah.
And then they're buying, like they bought these disposable plates and cups in which to like serve the food because you can't serve, blah, 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 or to prepare the food and all that. And my mother sends me an email saying, do you think those containers are biodegradable? I'm like, Ma, just get better. You're 87 years old. Forget about
like,
the damn biodegradable.
I mean, that is the amazing thing, right? Like that she knows enough and that she's caring enough, right?
Yeah, that's right. And she's like, how many days? How much will we generate? I'm like, just relax. It's
But
okay.
like, oh my gosh, like, I mean, that's the thing that I would say is so different between, and there's many things that are different between the two cultures, but like the United States is so individualized. So like if the government showed up at your door and like offered to clean your house after, like you'd be like, don't come in, like this is my private space.
But they come in full PPE, right? Like they come in their protective equipment.
No, of course, but I'm just saying like there's like such a mistrust of government and like the way it can help you.
And I'm very fortunate that my brother and sister-in-law live just upstairs and they are not going down. They're like, nope, we're not going down. And I'm just like, it's literally upstairs, downstairs. Like, I don't know how you keep air particles from circulating, but fingers crossed, fingers crossed, fingers crossed.
I'm keeping them in my prayers.
And so it's really worrisome, right? I mean, I do think that because they've had both shots, and they're 87 and 89, that, well, I'm hoping that that's why they're not. But this week is going to be the real test. Days 8 and 11, they say, are the true test of whether you're going to get over it or not. So today is day 6 for my dad. Whew. So yeah, it's it's a bit nuts, and it's a lot to handle and a lot for my brother and sister-in-law to navigate.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm worried about my father-in-law who's alone, right? Like he doesn't have a partner. My mother-in-law died 8 years ago. And he's all alone, and Vikram's an only child. So there's literally nobody there. So it's really worrisome. And the numbers are crazy, crazy. And Bangalore and Delhi are like war zones. Although they're very disciplined. Like my doctor friend was telling me, her uncle came down the street to give her something. Got stopped by the cops. Why are you out? He's like, oh, I want to go see my niece. Nope, go back to your house.
Right.
So Bombay is very good about things like that. Like they'll just crack down and be like, everybody back up.
Right.
But Delhi and Bangalore are a mess. Yeah, and it is like a war zone. Beds, food, oxygen, a lot of scrambling for resources. So the shops are only open now for a few hours in the morning. So there's a mad rush to the shops. How else do you get food, right?
Yeah.
So it's really complicated. And I'm booked to go May 25th. I'm waiting to see if some of my friends get allowed back. Some friends who went from here to there.
Right.
And are there now. Will they? Oh, it's just the breeze. Will they be allowed back? So we'll see. Who's watching with us? Hello, people.
I don't know. I don't know. So, Tuli, do we have a question for everybody today? Any questions?
Yes, I'm going to actually use it for staff meeting. There's an interesting reading I found. Let me see if I can navigate to it. I can do the reading itself. It's by, so I will tell people that more and more I'm trying to find readings from people of color, but sometimes you just don't. And I love this one. It's by Frederick Buechner, who's about as far from a person of color as you can get, who says, humanity is like an enormous spider web, so that if you touch it anywhere, you set the whole thing trembling. As we move around this world and as we act with kindness, perhaps, or with indifference, or with hostility to other people we meet, we too are setting the great spider web a-tremble. The life that I touch for good or ill will touch another life, and that in turn, until who knows where the trembling stops or in what far place and in time my touch will be felt. Our lives are linked together. No one is an island. And I loved it because it was such a Buddhist thing to say, right? So, right, like what you do is really important because it affects, of course, in the Buddhist tradition, it affects your future lives because you're carrying them forward. And the way you act is determined by your past lives. But even if you set that aside, the fact that you do have an impact, like the butterfly effect thing, right? I thought that was beautiful. What do you link to this week? Yes. What web is responding to your actions? So I'll say one of the successful things I did yesterday was my mom was longing for my dad because she tested positive 5 days after he did. That's when you do the test. So he had to be away from her. And they were just like, they're mad. They're just pining for each other. And so he's longing for her. She's longing for him. We were able to set up a video call from here for their 2 rooms, which are like 10 feet apart. So they were very happy to see each other. But then she tested positive, so then they all came out of their rooms.
Because now everybody has it.
Now everybody.
So you don't have to isolate.
Well,
sounds like she wasn't isolating really. Anyway. Yeah.
Positive. Sorry, what was that?
It sounds like she wasn't really isolating anyway.
I did see on the video call, it was interesting the way they'd set up the room, and he had a towel down with all the dishes, so they're clearly washing dishes in the bathroom. It seemed like he wasn't seeing anybody. Like the doors were firm.
Yeah.
So who's with us? Shall I navigate to Facebook and see who's with us?
So is your question for people? No, we can see.
That's my question for people.
What do you link to? What do you link to this week?
What are you linked to? What web are you setting off a tremble? Actually, that's funny that it says a tremble because my mother can't seem to pronounce asymptomatic. She calls herself asymptomatic.
Huh.
Like UH. I crack up every time she says it. She's like, I'm asymptomatic. I'm like, okay. I don't think she's asymptomatic. I just think she's not feeling it as much. She had a headache on Sunday. enough about me. I'm done talking.
Well, I'm debating on whether to share what web I'm setting off this week. Only so I will just name that my aunt sent me a book called Signs, and it's she sent it the
call signs, kind of like Maverick. Is your call sign?
No, it's like.
The title is Signs.
The title of the book is called Signs. Yes. I can't remember the author, but the author is a psychic medium. So it's all about like signs from the other side. So this is what I'm reading. It does feel like, in terms of reading it, and she's very good about, at least for people who are grieving, she's very good about saying that, like, receiving signs from the other side is not going to lessen the grief that you feel, the physical absence, but that love continues. And that's the central message that I've appreciated, that love continues after the person is gone, and that they are sending you love. I got Dana.
Hi, Dana. Yeah, maybe you'll preach about it. I've been reading a lot about grief and thinking a lot about how our kids and youth, like this is going to be a difficult year, navigating grief. And like somebody was asking me, at the 5th grade, our whole lives orientation with parents. 5th grade is not 8th grade, people. It's 5th grade. We would talk about some of the kinds of questions they ask, and I say every group is different. And some people, right, there was a year where we had like half the class were transracial adoptees, and they have different sets of questions. We had a class where the kids' parents or grandparents were transgender, and so that's a different conversation, right? So every year is different. So then the question came up from the parents of do they really engage in sexual contact? And of course, the UUA and Our Whole Lives has always said the more information kids have, the more likely they are to delay their first sexual contact. I did offer to do a longitudinal long-term study to prove that, but never mind, nobody took me up on it. That's a separate fight. I said, I am curious as to what this group of kids who've lived through the 2020 pandemic are going to feel about intimacy. Right? Like, you've told them to not take their masks off. They're going to be okay holding hands. But I am really curious to see how they approach wanting to be with another person.
Say more.
Well, if you told me I couldn't take my mask off, I wouldn't want to kiss somebody. Right? Like it's not even like it's not even an STI world. This is just like straight up like being next to somebody. I'd be like, back it up. Like, we have drilled it into them. There goes a teenager behind you.
I know. So that's kind of, Dana, that's what I was wondering about. So this is what Dana said. Will they be more detached or uber codependent? And that's something that I wondered about. Like, will the isolation and the drilling of, be safe, will that become like the dominant message, or will they like rebel against that? And like, once some parts of this are over, I don't know.
And of course, when you observe them, like we observe them every Sunday with youth group, there comes a point where they're like, you have to remind them, right?
Yeah, like that's what I think.
Be like, guys, keep your distance, right? So it's not like they naturally keep distance from each other. Naturally, they want to just glom together, and you have to remind them, stay apart.
Yeah, so Dana said, hopefully they will be more intentional and consensual about their relationships. And I do think that especially because people are really having to define their boundaries around the virus and like what's okay with them and what's not okay with them. And I did read a terrible article this morning where people on a certain news channel were calling for their watchers to kind of walk up to, I can't believe that this is true, to walk up to people with masks on and basically like, you know, harass them and to actually call the police on parents who have masks on their children.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. It was on a certain, because they're calling it like the government in a culture of where the government is mandating how you live your life. And so, you know, to take back the country. And so, I mean, it really seems to be inciting violence and to, you know, not a consensual, not a respectful place. So it's, I know it's infuriating. I couldn't believe it when I read it. I couldn't believe it. So.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it is completely crazy.
Yeah.
So for all of you out there listening, the 5 dozen of you who are with us, the 7 dozen of you, we are very excited.
Or who will be listening.
Oh, who will be listening. We're very excited to welcome Dr. Elias Ortega to our pulpit, to our virtual pulpit this Sunday.
Oh, I am so excited. I am so excited. I cannot wait.
He's one of the authors of the Commission on Institutional Change and wrote that book, Widening the Circle. So, and he's president of Meadville Lombard, which is one of our 2 UU seminaries, and your minister here, of which he is a graduate.
Meaning me.
I said that way.
I know, but on my screen, it looked like you pointed the opposite direction. It's like
that one over there.
This one.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. And Dr. Ortega was a member of the Morristown Fellowship.
That's right, for many years.
Mm-hmm. I was telling people the other night, so sorry, Tuli, that you have to hear this again, but I met Dr. Ortega on a park bench on the Summit Green because he and I were both adult advisors at one of the youth conferences. And so we had taken the kids out to the Summit Green to run around, and we had one of the best conversations. So I am so excited by what Dr. Ortega is doing at Meadville Lombard. It's really been exciting as an alumnus, and can't wait for the larger population to hear Dr. Ortega speak. It's just, I'm very excited for this Sunday.
Yes, it's very exciting. And I have to say, speaking of being outside, Dana and I took the youth, and along with Jeff and Sean, our youth advisors, we went hiking in Watchung Reservation this past Sunday on the Sensory Trail. Dana was the fearless leader. And they had I don't know what your teenager told you.
My teenager loved it.
So happy. They were just being outside, and it made me realize once again, you need space, man. I'm telling you. Like,
well,
when
and play.
I was so surprised because I came out of Kirkwood, Missouri, that has this fantastic playground with a chef, and blah, 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 blah. And you come here and you're like, wait, what? I mean, I can't believe we've run successful programs in a building with no space. It's mad.
I know.
And remember the years when you and I were dreaming up indoor play equipment? We were like, why can't we have this? And why can't we have that?
I mean, I really feel like with New Jersey, it's kind of essential to have like both an indoor and outdoor play space. Yeah. And I have to say as a parent, because I was dropping off my teenager and I got my middle schooler to come with me on the drop off. And because it's like, we're going to the reservation, so there's kind of no point in going home and then coming back again. So, and I was supposed to go for a walk at the end of the day. That's kind of how I try to end my day, with a walk around the block. And so we went for our own walk with another parent. It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. And my 12-year-old said, I normally don't like hikes, but we should do this. We should do this at the end of the day more often, because it was just this beautiful, like, hour before sunset. Gorgeous. I mean, we talked about things, and she said, normally on Sunday nights, there's a lot of anxiety. I remember you saying this about Kabir, like Sunday nights was like, it's a lot of anxiety about the start of the week. And it really just forced them to
That's right.
not think about it. Right. It's just like enjoy the moment.
That is exactly right.
Yeah. So thank you both to you, Tuli, and to Dana. And
I'm glad the weather worked out, because it was shit at the beginning of the day where it was raining and thundering. I'm like, not again, people. But
well, you had also planned the hike on another Sunday, and we'd had like three Sundays where the weather was, one Sunday where it cooperated beautifully.
We had.
So thank you. On that note, we should probably go to staff meeting.
Yes, we are going to staff meeting. Goodbye, people.
So people throughout the week, if you watch, please feel free to say how you are shaking the web, making it a tremble. If you can even figure out how to answer.
Not a tremble, a tremble.
A tremble.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.